ask about this? Oh, yeah. So we have been recording meetings, basically for YouTube or anyone that can't make the meeting or is not sure if they actually want to show up. Does anybody have any issues with being on camera? It's okay. I mean,
maybe we will check the back door.
yeah. I understand. A lot of people, especially in the preparedness community, kind of concerned with security, and they might not want to come to a public library for a meeting.
They got my posters at FBI and the post office already. I'm not worried about it.
Awesome. But we're going to put these on YouTube, so if you ever miss a meeting, you can watch it there. We had some
website.
South Texas Preparedness right now. We might move it to something else. Okay. I just put it up on a channel, so it's ready to go. We had some feedback that sometimes the sound was going in and out, so we have a microphone now. That means we're serious about this. We're big into production now. Yeah. Well, I mean, it has a clip, but I don't know. Yeah.
It'll hook.
It'll hook onto the beard, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for coming out, guys. You're the reason that we're able to do this, so it's super cool to see everyone out here. I got the easy part. I'm doing just the basic overall, kind of scratching the surface. We got a couple people that are a little more skilled than me that'll come up and talk a little more about the really interesting stuff. I'm definitely not an expert. I'm still learning. So anyway, we're doing Alternative Power 101. And I made some really cool, awesome animations with it. So boom, there's the agenda. Obviously, you guys can read, share resources, trying to keep the presentation within an hour. Give us a little bit of Q&A and some networking time built in as well. And then there's a lot of goodies. So we have some show and tell available, and I know everyone loves gear, so it should be neat. Yeah, energy. We use it for almost everything. I mean, obviously lights, food, refrigeration, cooking, coffee, obviously. That's kind of, yeah, you got to have it. Communication, radio, internet, phones, all of that, going to comfort. I don't know if you guys know, but it's hot outside, and air conditioning takes a lot of power, so that's one of the biggest things. Music, all of that. So security, obviously camera systems and anything along those lines can definitely play a big role in that. Transportation, I know electric vehicles, I'm sure everyone here drives a Tesla. I'm so sure.
Oh, yeah.
But, even things like the fuel pumps at gas stations, they require electricity. So something to think about. We use it for almost everything. Now, power outage causes. I'm sure that everyone has read 1 Second After and the Going Home series. So we always talk about EMPs and CMEs.
What's the CME?
Coronal mass ejection comes from the sun.
That's one from the sun, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But really, Mother Nature is kind of the biggest thing. Obviously, with the ice storm, we're all well aware of that at this point. And hurricanes. I mean, I think that's Katrina. And I mean, it's pretty devastating. One of the lesser things that I guess has started, just people have started talking about it, cyber attacks. I mean, a lot of the hackers, the groups, they will hold grids for ransom until it's paid. So definitely something to prepare for. And obviously with ERCOT, the electric grid failure. So we're quite a couple threats that we're having to work around. Really, as far as the backup power source, I have 2 generators here. Obviously, they both have advantages, but they are made for different purposes. And there's 4 considerations that a lot of people tend to believe are necessary to pick that alternate power source. Oh. Hey. Oh, cool. Hello. Come on in. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Our secret society.
We're compromised.
You guys special not to get in.
So, energy requirements. Obviously, we're not going to use this generator. Oh, that's neat. Put that down there. Obviously, we're not going to use this to run a 12,000 BTU window unit. That's not going to do anything. We would need something larger. So you'd need to calculate your energy needs, your requirements. Make a list of the things that you actually need to use. I have a chart coming up that'll narrow that down and help you out with that. The duration determines the fuel source. So if it's 2 days without power, yeah, a gas generator might be fine. If it's 2 weeks, well, I don't know how much gas you have on hand. And you might have a propane tank. Who knows? But that kind of breaks down what system you'd probably want to use. The portability of the system. If you are planning on bugging out, I would recommend having wheels on a generator. This one right here, this is actually in my shed. It's about 120 pounds. And then you put gas in it, so it's probably closer to 150. It's not fun to lug around.
That's why you have lift kit in the back of your pickup.
Oh yeah, you know.
Kids.
Yeah, or kids. There you go. So, this is kind of a permanent solution. I'm not planning on moving it unless I have a hand truck. The environment. So let's say your entire neighborhood's out without power, but your generator's running. Everyone in the neighborhood's going to hear it. So it's going to be kind of loud, and you're going to bring attention that you might not want.
I heard that's what they did during Katrina. Like, looters would, drive around, figure out who had the generator.
Exactly.
And then that's how they knew who had stuff.
Yeah, that's how they could locate you. So something to think about. If you're going solar, you might want to make sure you don't have trees covering your entire backyard.
Have what?
Trees.
Sunlight's important.
Sunlight is important for solar. That's right.
Yeah, but trees are good for wind power, though, too.
They are. So that's one of the considerations. You say, hey, I've got a lot of wind. Let's go ahead and go with wind power. This is the almighty chart that I was speaking of a moment ago. We have 2 columns on each of these little sections where there's the running watts and then the surge watts. Obviously the surge, so if you start anything with a compressor, a fridge, an AC unit, there's going to be a surge of energy required. So if you're crunching the numbers, trying to figure out what size generator you need to take into account the surge wattage. Now, most generators, at least as far as gas is concerned, they have a surge rating. So normally they will have the running watts and then the surge watts, which means it can kind of dig deep and get you going out of that.
Is that the website to get that list?
Yes. Generatorist.com is the website. I'll also be sending out this presentation on the email list. So if anyone wants to get it from there as well. So yeah, basically all you do is you crunch the numbers and then you find out, okay, cool. So I want to run, this ceiling fan, this window unit, and food dehydrator. Add it all together. That's what you need if you want to run everything at once. All right. Types of generators. Oh, you have that one? Nice. So we have the Generac whole home natural gas. Those are the ones that you see the commercials for, I think, on a lot of channels. I know Fox News talks about it quite a bit, where power goes out, but then the lights just kick back on. They're very large, and they're permanent solution that's built into your house. Well, no, so that would be a power wall. It's just kind of a battery backup.
With a transfer switch.
Yeah, with a transfer switch.
Oh, okay. There's another one where they
So,
collect the solar, and then it stores it.
yeah, it's a battery bank.
This
Yeah.
is one you'll see if you go to Home Depot. They actually have demonstrations of the big Generacs. They have a demo unit.
Yeah.
About by half the size of this table.
Yep. You ain't
Yeah.
moving that one nowhere.
It's usually about the size of the table, and it's usually on the outside of your house. And natural gas line has to be plumbed in, and I mean
You don't move it after it's in place.
exactly. It is a permanent fixture. So I mean, it's definitely advantageous because it's scaled to your home's needs, and it just clicks on automatically. Problem is, it's really expensive. You have to have a slab. Yeah, you have to have a concrete pad for it to go on. And it's not movable. So, Yeah, they're about 4 to 10,000 depending on your house size and your requirements, from what I've seen. Portable gas generators. They're the most common ones. The pull start. They're super loud, but they're portable. They're fairly cost effective. You can use multiple fuel sources. The only problem is like we've said, it's very finite because you can use gas or propane for most of them, and they're very loud. So what's actually pictured up here is the inverter generator. It's along the same lines where it does use a fuel source. It's very quiet though in comparison. It's very efficient, portable, and it actually acts as an inverter, so it brings everything back into the AC current. It's very helpful. They're very expensive though, and the power output, while it's efficient, it's kind of limited in comparison. You need to buy a fairly large one.
You can also get one. You can get some inverters that are triple fuel.
Yeah, the tri-fuel.
And then also, I have one. It's offhand. It's like $500 for 2,500 watts, but it runs about 8 to 10 hours on 1 gallon of gas.
Yeah, they're very efficient.
Yes.
They're kind of cost prohibitive at a certain point. So.
One of the advantages of the inverter ones too is you can chain them together.
Yes.
Link them together, whereas most of the portable gas generators you don't have a synchronous ability to synchronize the generator, so that makes it.
Yeah. Now I have seen a portable gas generator. I don't remember who created it or who manufactures it, but they actually have a harness system that they can connect them and then run them together. It is a Champion. Okay.
But the ones that are inverter, because it's not a true sine wave on the output, it's a square.
Yeah.
They're easier to synchronize. To synchronize two that are true sine waves, you have to get these actual sines to line up, and that's really complicated.
Definitely. Solar power. I know that's kind of one of the big things that everyone really pushes.
I'd like to add something about gasoline generators.
Sure.
Ethanol.
Ethanol. Yeah, if you know somebody that has.
Booster is not necessarily in your favor, but if you go to Walmart or HEB and buy the mid-grade fuel, you'll get it without the ethanol. If they put ethanol in, they don't put the octane booster in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that, you'll find you'll have a whole lot less trouble storing your fuel, because that water pickup in that ethanol fuel is really bad.
Absolutely, and yeah, and there's a lot of gas stations that will actually promote that they have ethanol-free gas, so that's definitely good to know. QT. There you go.
Just a note that, on that is the fail that happened to us and to people I know when we had the freeze. We have this generator. I've got 3 generators. Go get that generator. Pull it over here. Pull it. And it's been sitting for 2 years. Yeah. With regular gas in it, and it's just like won't run. Right? So the fail that I learned was don't put gas in a brand new one until you actually need it.
Right.
And then try and manage that or do the maintenance. So just want to make that.
Or just run it like every 6 months.
Yeah, just do the maintenance. Yeah, just keep it running.
Yeah, there's a lot of disclaimers that they'll stick on generators that say you have to run every 6 weeks or it voids the warranty. I mean.
Well, you can get carburetor kits for those units, which are real easy to swap out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just usually a couple of gaskets.
Yeah, so
And,
it is, but it's when you need it, then you don't have it, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
The problem, but you can
Maybe
swap,
buy a
you can do the
generator
repairs in 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
I'm sure I'm never going to go through that again.
The lesson has been learned.
Lesson learned.
There you go. So yeah, solar. It's quiet, which is obviously a huge advantage. It's great generation possibility. Obviously here we're in the Sun Belt, so it's pretty neat.
What about disguising your solar panels? If you got a bunch of solar panels in your house, everybody's going to know you got electricity. They're going to come knocking on your door. Or is there any way of? I know I've seen solar panels now that kind of blend into the roof and so on.
Yeah, so they have a couple of different options as far as camouflaging. Not to OPSEC myself too much, but I have solar panels on my shed, one of my sheds in my backyard,
Right.
and you can't see it from ground level. It's on a concrete pad that's about 2 feet up. It has a ramp that you can go to the entrance, but then there's solar panels lining the top, and you have to be on a ladder to see them. So, I mean, it just depends on what your backyard, your front yard, how close your neighbors are to you, if there are any two-story houses nearby, just positioning.
And
You
your
know.
light discipline, so if you're throwing all your lights on at night,
Yeah,
they're gonna know that.
exactly. They're gonna know something's up. They're gonna, okay, well, I don't hear a generator, but their lights are on, and they're blasting Led Zeppelin at 2 in the morning. So, you know.
Keep interrupting, but lesson learned, my neighbor down the street has as many solar panels he can fit on his roof. And when we had the freeze, at 0 power because the inverter is powered from the grid side, not from the solar.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
That wasn't almost everybody.
Exactly. Almost everybody in San Antonio has them like that. I mean,
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
in the neighborhood had power. And I was just like,
Yeah, and that's why I really like the off-grid application for it. Another thing, I spoke with a gentleman who was tasked with putting hundreds of windmills up throughout Oklahoma and Texas. They all require power to start. So when there's a power outage, the windmills don't create any power. So that's another.
So wait a minute, when that time you said you have a windmill?
So those giant windmills,
Right.
they require power to start generating power.
Oh, you're talking about the big
And they
ones.
don't have battery backups.
I'm
They
sorry.
literally are tied into the grid, so if the grid loses power,
Well, I was thinking something like, a backyard wind generator.
Yeah.
Wind generator.
So moving on, wood gasifier. This is kind of a preparedness, like the preppers like gold mine, where you build your own wood gasifier, use pressure and heat to create your own fuel with wood inside. They're not really commercially available, but you have unlimited fuel. Basically, you just need firewood. Problem is they're kind of dangerous. You're letting out carbon monoxide, and you're also basically working with a pressure cooker, and it can blow up. So hydroelectric, you see a lot of these people throw them into streams. They're kind of for small power generation. They're not really that effective, and also it rains here once every like 6 months, so not exactly the biggest thing. Wind, they have semi-portable options as far as mills that you can put up, which is great because it's actually fairly windy out here. Problem is when it's not windy, you're not creating any power, and also everyone's going to see that windmill that you have sticking up in the sky. So, yeah, the Helix ones are actually really neat, and they're kind of a lower profile. So,
What was it called? Oh, okay.
they're futuristic looking. Batteries, obviously, depending on your system or your setup, they're kind of important. Even if you don't have a power generation source besides your wall, something like one of the batteries we have is a fantastic option, especially for a short term. So, there's a variety of them based on obviously the same requirements. For example, portability of systems. So this is actually from my shed. They're 190 amp hour batteries, but they're 130 pounds a piece. So I don't plan on ever hauling them anywhere. So that's kind of a permanent solution. Over here, you'll see the EcoFlow, I think Delta Pro, where it has wheels, and you basically treat it like a carry-on and can haul it around. So all those considerations. This is the Jackery. I think it's that one right there. So you can see it's a lot more portable. It's like the size of a lunchbox, but it's not going to power as much. So got to find something scaled to your needs.
That's probably like TV and phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can run a fan off of that for about a day. So short-term recommendations. Granted, this is me, no one else. So this is just my opinion. A dual or tri-fuel generator. I would say anything short of 2 weeks might be a really good option. You can actually see the ratings. Let's see, right here. The 4750 is the surge, and then the running is 3800 watts. And then here you'll see this is the propane rating. So you can see propane doesn't quite put out as much energy, but it's a great option if you have propane tanks just lying around. They can usually deal with the surge requirements, and wheels really do make life easier.
I just bought one, it's in the box, I'm not opening it till it's dust wrapped. But it was got it on sale. It was $299 for the 45, which is a really good price.
That's a really good price. You can usually find them on sale at Harbor Freight. Granted, they're not going to be quite as high quality as like a Honda or any of the other brands, but you know, Costco, yes, absolutely. And then long term, solar, not really a big surprise. So it is kind of expensive, but the neat thing about it is that you can scale it. It's fairly cost effective when you break it down. You can find used solar panels all over Facebook Marketplace and all kinds of locations on the internet. They're silent, and like we talked about before, you can kind of blend them in or just make it so that people can't see them. We'll get a little bit further into the solar section later on with one of the other presenters, but we have the panels, the charge controller, the battery, inverters, or the cables. You can buy sets and go from there. And I think that is it for me. Earl had some recommendations that he added. Well, I added to this. So
Just for the links of some of the stuff.
yeah, and I think that is it for me. Earl had some recommendations that he added. Well, I added to this. So
Just for the links of some of the stuff.
Yeah.
That people can go and look at.
so I'm actually going to hand it over to him, and I'll run these last 3 slides for you.
I don't know if I need the last 3 slides, just something later, but what I really wanted is go back to the power, what things take.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one right there. So my experience when we had the snowpocalypse, I had, for some reason, I knew something was going to happen. I went out and got a couple of solar panels, 4 of them about that size, set up an inverter in my garage, and powered. When all that went down, we had lost power for a week, so we were completely out of everything. And I had set that up to power my freezer, and I purchased a 12-volt freezer that ran off of these type of batteries for the entire week and barely used any electricity at all. So the proof of concept was great. I've got a small footprint and was able to run and keep all my meat fresh, whereas my neighbors were going, "Oh my God, we lost all our meat," and I was like, "Well, why didn't you take it outside?" But seriously, people just don't think about that. That's one of my experience with that, which was, for me, was great. I mean, we worked out good. We had no issues with any power whatsoever. I have the inverter generator that we also brought out to run like a lamp or 2 or stuff like that. That worked really good also. I walked around one of the nights and I was able to pinpoint every house in my neighborhood that had a generator because they're loud. So now I got that written down. So I know who's out there to go, at least I know those people are prepared. So I can go and say, hey, let's band together and start, doing something as a community. I have an inverter, a generator, and you couldn't hear it out. Nobody even knew we had it. So it makes it, the inverter generators, depends on how big you get. They can go from, I got mine on Facebook Marketplace for $400, but new, they can go up to $1,500. I do all my stuff off Facebook Marketplace. This came off of there, this came off of there, but some of this stuff is new. This is a 12-volt, 55 amp hour battery. I've got several of these. I used to work for a hospital, and I took these out of their carts because they just throw them away. So I got to keep some of them. What this does, it's set up to run just a small few things just so I can have this available. One of them being this charger here for my radios. That way, even when I don't have power, I can still have communications with all these guys and be able to talk back and forth, assuming the phones are not working. This is also trickle charged by a portable solar panel. Not quite as big as this. I think this is 60 watts and that's 100 watt solar power. Um, n- yes, the solar panel comes out into this is the solar charger that we were talking about. You can get this, and I had the links on there. You can get this on Amazon for $20. Renogy is probably one of the best, best products to go to for as far as solar is concerned. And what this does is it takes the solar power into here and sends it to the battery and keeps the battery charged. But what it also does is it controls how much the battery lets out, because if it goes too low, the battery might get run. So once this out right here has determined, hey, the battery's too low, it'll shut off power until it's recharged. So you don't ruin your expensive batteries. Depends on what kind. Like lead batteries won't get up, it'll get 300 or 500 cycles, I believe. If you go to lithium, you have like 10,000 cycles. I've never had to replace a battery in the 4 or 5 years that I've been doing this. So, but none of my batteries ever run all the way down. For in volts, yeah, for like this battery, it's 11.4 volts, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood. There's others that you can go down to a lower voltage, run them down to like 20%. No, they do. The lithium batteries, they're a lot more expensive, and you can run them down. You can deplete them farther, and have more recharges on them. Outside of solar, one of the things I've thought to bring up is, and the solar also charges this, is rechargeable batteries. So this is the envelope kit you can get off of Amazon. I think it's like $40. It has a charger and batteries in it. This is Enelope, Eneloop. Yeah. I've got a subscription service on Amazon to send me 4 new batteries every month. So I keep adding those to my list. Another thing for alternative power is something like this. It has a solar power in it. It's got a radio, and it's got a crank. Yeah. So yeah, I saw that one. So you can have, you can basically listen to the weather and any other newscast broadcast. It does have NOAA on it. Yes.
It's great for a bug-out bag as well, just to hang off a bug-out bag.
And it doesn't. It's not heavy. It doesn't take up much space. That's pretty much all I have. So.
Okay. All right, Dean? Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you're the reason my bill is $480.
So Dee, it's all yours, buddy. Just remember to talk in that mic so we got it recorded.
What mic?
You got it.
All right, guys. So hopefully y'all can hear me. I'm hard of hearing. Therefore, I should probably talk loud enough you should hear me. I'm a ham radio operator. I'm subjected to the same problem everybody else is, power during emergency. I work with ARES, Amateur Radio Emergency Service. We help out the Red Cross, the EOC. The EOC is like the 911 call center. We carry equipment, backup equipment, battery operated, to set up at the firehouses for EMS, fire departments, in case everything goes down. We're the last backup. So batteries are important. During the last freeze session we had this past year, at my house, now I monitor most of the frequencies with 3 or 4 different radios, so I'm set up in case any emergency or crisis comes up, I can answer on the radio and try to get out. Cell phone coverage is only going to last until the cell phone towers, the batteries run out of power. We noticed that already had happened. Some of the TV stations actually were slow getting back up on the air. and the radio stations even went down. So during emergency, it was important. It was freezing weather. I was taking care of an 85-year-old mother in the house with me. We had to do something. Luckily, we had natural gas, so we could keep the gas going, keep the stove going, the oven. The furnace we couldn't do because I didn't have enough power to operate the furnace, that's fine. This kept us nice and warm in there. We have a 65-inch television set. I picked up a simple inverter like you might use in an automobile, about a 250-watt modified sine wave. It wasn't a special inverter, wasn't anything expensive. Hooked it up to one of my batteries, plugged in the TV set. It worked fine for several days without any problem. I had these batteries that I had made up. Now, these are cases they're in to give you an idea of what we have to do to make just the battery itself useful for grabbing and running. I ran a couple of solar panels, emergency solar panels, similar to something like this. It was set up outside my house on sawhorses. I wasn't too concerned about theft. Probably should have been, but I wasn't. After I wiped the snow off, solar panels were putting out horrendous power. I had about 300 watts that kept some of my batteries charged up without any problem. That was the first day. Two things about solar panels. They don't work at night, and they don't work when there's no sunshine. When the clouds are overcast, you're not getting anything off of them. So I had a vehicle. Go ahead.
I know that you just mentioned that solar panels do not work at night. Common sense. However, I have heard, and I'm not knowledgeable of it, I'm hoping you are, about the lunar panels that do work at night based off the lunar stars.
Yeah, well, you don't expect a whole lot of power from those. But yeah, they're talking about bifacial, where the backside actually picks up and the front side they add more, but not going to do us much good down here. Maybe up north where you got a white ground that's reflecting from the snow, it can help. But you're not going to get a whole lot out of those. So and when you're trying to charge batteries fast, it's real important to get as much energy as you can. If you're using an SLA, a sealed lead acid, this would be an SLA here. These are the most reasonable batteries to get a hold of because they're very inexpensive and easy to get. However, they do take, you can only use 50%. So whatever the rating is of 100, you're only going to get about 50 amp hours out of it. And that even depends on how much current you're drawing. The heavier the current load, even the less it's going to be. They have to be charged usually overnight. That makes them a little bit difficult once you get into a situation where you have power out for several days. A lot of your computer UPS units, the backup for your computers, use the small lead acid batteries or sealed lead acid like these. I have one right here, as a matter of fact. And I had an overabundant supply because all the alarm systems use them. My son's in the alarm business. When he gets them and he says, hey, it's brand new, but it's dated yet last year. By the time he gets it, it goes in a trash can. Yeah, I had a heart attack when I saw the trash pile. So I grabbed a bunch of them and passed them out. But I put 3 of them in here. And this is 3 7 amp hour SLAs. Pretty heavy. 21 amp hours, you can use about half of that. And it works. I got a quick charger that'll plug into it overnight again. But it works. You know, it's not that expensive. Harbor Freight box and some switches. The meters I use are percentage meters, not voltmeters. It's important to know what the percentage of the charge is. So this works out good. But I had come across some lithium batteries, and I got suckered into these. 4 of them for $100. We can't go wrong, right? Well, after I did that 5 times and got $500 involved, I realized these things are capable of what's called 200 amps off each one, where that's not something we really need that much power, plus 5. So now I'm at 1,000 amps I can draw off of one battery that has these in it, and then they'll last forever. I use it all in my ham radio gear and stuff. I run the fans with it, you name it. And I've never had one run down when I'm doing an outing.
So it's not, you got suckered in, that's a good deal.
Do what?
You did not get suckered in, it's a good deal.
Oh, no, it's a good deal.
Okay.
So is electric cars that don't work. Electric cars,
Yeah.
you know, the batteries go out and they're not any good anymore? Yeah, they are. They have, like the Teslas have about 3,000 of these in there. And only a few of them have gone out. They're fused. When the fuse blows, because once they go out, there'll be a dead short, they'll get hot, they'll blow a fuse. People, bless you. Go in there and just, they'll pull the batteries out. The insurance companies already know about this, guys, so not a bargain anymore. The wrecking yard set them batteries aside, and they'll get $1,500, $2,000 for that used battery. But it's worth it when you pull it apart and get the cells out of it. Something else, your electric drills all have these batteries in them. Your computers, your laptops. Laptops, you know, you leave them plugged in all the time and they're always working. They seem like the batteries last forever. They're using lithium ions like these. And I took these and built batteries and put inside boxes like this. It takes a little bit of electronics to make it safe, but it's a nice battery pack. It works great. Not very heavy, and it's about 10 times in performance what this thing is. But it's a great way to go. This has a plug on here for our ham two-way radios, an AC charger, which, by the way, these things can charge in a few hours. A percentage meter, and a high-speed USB to charge your cell phone and stuff with. This particular one is being set up for solar input. To my surprise, they don't make solar charge controllers for these batteries. So we'll have to make it. I'm just about there. But within a day or two, I'll have these finished and working, and it'll show what the solar panel is putting out. So when you hook it up and you look at this and you see it's not charging that fast on your solar, you know to conserve your energy as much as you can.
Do you sell those?
Do what, dear?
Are you selling them?
I will be.
Okay.
I'm just slow. This one's been sold already. I got to get it finished, and so is this one. He's getting this one right here. I mean, these are nice. I mean, I set these up with switches in the top. So when you hit the switch, it'll power everything up. If it's turned on, I don't think I have this one plugged. The cells aren't plugged in. This one here it's quite an elaborate setup. It's probably enough to scare you half to death if you saw the inside of these. But it takes a lot to make these things safe. Now this one has only one of these bigger batteries in there that lasts. We use 100-watt ham radios on these, and they last all day. So it's a great way to go. I prefer to use them. These are 14-volt batteries, not 12-volt batteries.
So can you maybe elaborate, not so much on us building one, but, you know, your recommendation of the two different types of batteries that you have? Or
Okay. Well, I recommend if you can get away with using a lithium batteries, that's the way to go because they're going to last a lot longer. These are lifetime batteries when you take care of them. When they're built right, they'll charge fast. If you've got some sun coming up and your batteries are run down, you can plug them into your solar panels. If you have 10 or 15 amps coming in, you can usually get them charged all the way back up again by noon. 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it's after the sun. Huh?
the other one takes over.
The other one's going to take 24 hours. So that's a big advantage over that.
Question,
Yes.
approximately what these units run, when you get ready to sell them?
Uh,
What kind of ballpark?
I have sold batteries like this one right here for $700. It sounds expensive, but when you're looking at a lifetime battery and your life depends on the battery, it's actually quite feasible. For emergency backup for ham radio equipment, I'm telling the guys, if you buy it, use it. Don't just leave it, just like you would your laptop. Leave it plugged in. I include 2-amp chargers so they don't get hot. They charge real slow, which is fine. Charge it overnight. Don't worry about it. They'll last forever. They supposedly have about 2,000 cycles. That's at a full depth of discharge. Nobody does that. Matter of fact, there are electronic circuits I build into these batteries that'll stop them at about 2.5 volts per cell. So that meant about 10 or 12 volts, some of these will drop out. This bigger one will stop at 12 volts. The smaller ones will stop at about 9.5 volts. They won't put out any more power. That saves the batteries. It gives you longer time for life. So some of these you probably can expect about 5 to 10, maybe 15 years out of them.
I've seen something similar to this on the internet.
They're all over the internet.
Right. Yes, Amazon. And, but I mean, how do we know?
Well, if you look, most of them are going to supply you with, these are not lithium iron. Those are lithium iron cells because they most closely replace the lead acid type batteries. If it's 12 volts, they're 12 volts. These are not going to be 12. These are going to be like 11.5 or 12 volt battery when it's in the nominal mode. And nominal, after it comes off a charge, it'll stay all day at that nominal mode. The 14 volt ones will come up to about 16 fully charged, and they'll drop down real quick and stay all day long at that 14 volts. Your vehicle, all your vehicle radios and stuff are designed to operate off the alternator, which is 14 volts, 14.6. So it closely matches that. The only problem is it's not exactly the same. But for us, it keeps our equipment running cooler and lasting longer by using it that way. And
Sorry, so you've talked about the cheaper battery, but it takes longer to maintain or to charge. Now you got really two of these, the LifePo, which we don't have, right? The Life Pro, is it LifePo?
the lithium iron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. This is lithium iron here. It's the battery back over here that, and when it's a bigger one, it's it's the same size case as this.
I just want to give them some options to look at online is really the different types of battery.
And don't let it fool you. This case came from Harbor Freight. I decided I've spent so much money on the sales. This has got 20 of these in there. And the accompanying electronic equipment to make it work. So it's a full house full of equipment in here, and a solar charge controller. So this one, I can plug it into solar over here, and it tells me how much solar power is going in, so I know about what I've got coming in. I have a percentage meter, and at the same time, I also have another meter on here that will tell me what the temperature is in case things start getting kind of hot. Do what?
Is overheating ever an issue? Do you have fans in them?
What do you think?
Is it overheating?
I haven't had the problem, but you can actually run these so hard they'll get hot. If they do, couldn't put fans, automatic fans on them. That's a little bit more money put in. Already we're getting a lot of money in these things. Each one of these little pieces that we add in here are like $25 a pop. It doesn't sound like much, but you get to 100 real quick, and then 150, then 200. I got the BMS, the battery management unit, it's got to watch these things. Each group of these cells, make sure they're not overcharged or undercharged, and they stay balanced. That's $100. And that's what's in this one. And these have some little bit, not quite the same. By the way, this battery here can be monitored from my cell phone. So it's got a Bluetooth adapter to it, so I can actually watch it. I got so much tied up in this thing, it's like $700. Now, it would sell, if you get online and look, if you find the equivalent, it's probably going to be selling for around $1,200, $1,400.
What's the difference on a Jackery that John had put up there and the cost?
It's
Versus, that Jackery there.
most Zacharys have 110 volts in them. They got an inverter. These don't have inverters. So I did include a lighter plug on the bottom of this one here that I can actually plug an inverter into to run the TV set or something that has to have it. But I'm not catering to 110 volts. The Zachary, some of these other ones you use, they don't have a whole lot of power because they got a lot of stuff they crammed in there. So the batteries aren't that heavy, and they're using a little different type of cell. They're using a lithium, well, they're using same as this, as a matter of fact. They're using a lithium smaller than this. But these don't have as much energy as the lithium ions that I'm using. So as a result, I'm going to try to get as much energy out of this pack as I can. I can actually get, in this box right here, the physical size, about 150 amp hours. That's a lot of amperage. I won't be able to have room for a lot of extra parts and stuff in there, but I can get it in there. But keeping in mind, if you can't afford anything else, lead acid will work. Ma'am? Where do you buy your batteries? Oh, I get these from wholesale houses all over the country, and they don't always have them. Have you heard of Uber? I don't know what happened, but have you ever been to the park or downtown and saw those electric bicycles, those beige-colored ones they ride on with the basket on the front? Okay, well, I don't know who owns those. Y'all know?
City.
Who?
No,
The city? Oh. Well, here's the deal. Somebody bought the exact same bicycle, apparently made in China, that's orange, and it's Uber. I don't have any idea what happened there. All I know is I get a call from one of my suppliers out of Pennsylvania and says, hey, we got a truck backing up full of batteries, 36-volt batteries. Okay. So I looked at them. I said, they look pretty good sales. They're new. They've never been used. But they're in a full battery form. I can't use them where they are, so I dismantle them and build what I need from them. Later, on the internet, I find some guy say, hey, look what I found in a junkyard, in a salvage yard. As far as you can see, were orange bicycles.
Oh, wow.
Well, they can't junk or salvage those batteries. They have to be sent to a special place to be disposed of. They're new.
You gotta go bury them in the desert. That's how you dispose of them.
Do what?
You bury them in the desert. That's how you get rid of them.
No. Not these. You want to use these. I bought a few thousand of those cells. And I've also got some cases of brand new cells. I was going through my stock the other day that I need to put together and start using. But it's a lot of fun. I like building these things. There's a lot of headaches. There are some dangers involved. These things have horrendous amounts of energy. I run across some of these that produce power that you won't believe. And I'm trying to figure where in the world they use cells. It's not your laptops. They use them in drills. They use a lot of energy. Then I didn't know too much about them. I went and threw them to the charger, and they came out at 30 amps. I said, that's not possible. I did a bunch of them. They all came out, and they were hot. I thought, what the heck? So I did some closer research on these numbers that were on here, and I realized, oh, and they're special. There was no fuses on them. They have a little bimetallic strip under there. When they get so dang hot, they're ready to blow and catch on fire, they'll open the circuit. So guys are going in there and pushing that back down and resetting them and saving some of the cells. I got a bunch of them. But I did run across some cells where when my screwdriver, I thought the fuse said 20 amps. It said 70 amps. You know, some of the characters they write, it's upside down, it looks like a 2. Well, at 70 amps, I took the wrong screw loose, and when that little fuse slid over and shorted things out, it got real exciting.
How does the screwdriver look?
I don't have that screwdriver anymore. All I saw was sparklers in the air. That was molten metal.
Can you
So-
get electrocuted, right?
Yes, you can. Now, this is not AC. This is DC. Big difference. AC makes your muscles jerk, and you can actually get off of it. DC doesn't do that. It holds you to it, so it's very dangerous. But these aren't that high voltage. You're going to have to go, I think the OSHA, somebody comes in about 36 to 38, maybe 40 volts. I try to stay under that, so it's not a problem. Yes?
So the overcharge and the undercharge is that 80/20?
Is that what?
80/20? So you don't want to overcharge it like 80%, undercharge it like 20%?
The BMS, the battery management unit, will control both of those. You set your chargers up so it charges at whatever current rate you want. All these chargers are what they call constant current and constant voltage. So you set the voltage, you set the current, what you want, and it stays there until they're charged. They're completely different than the batteries we're used to using. But they're safe once you use the right technique to charge them.
So could you power the deep freeze? Could you power the deep freezer off of this?
I'll let you know pretty soon.
Okay. So
During
they
that
have a-
during that freeze, my furnace didn't work, and I had gas. So all I had to do was run the fan. Well, it draws a lot of energy, and these aren't big enough. I have a 1500 watt sine wave inverter, and I have the actual battery that I was using for this. It's as big as that same battery, but it's only 4 volts. So I'm putting 4 of those together. That's going to give me 120 amp hours. That's enough to kick everything on, get it running good. And I haven't really, I know there's charts that tell you what the current draw is, but there's also some meters that you can put in line and plug it in, and it will bring, whenever it comes on, it tells you how much current it's drawing, how much it's using, the wattage and everything. And once I do that, I will know exactly. I want to be able to back up my refrigerator and back up my furnace. I'm sorry, hon.
Did you learn it on your own?
Yes. Unfortunately. It's called School of Hard Knocks. I've read everything I can find. And I found I had to correct a lot of guys out there and say, hey, did you know, and explain that they were not correct.
Have you had any mishaps?
Yes. That comes with
That's how you
learning.
learn.
That's how we learn.
So one of the things I want to say is I'm not interested in building my own battery. Me personally, right? I want to be able to have the battery, understand what my maintenance is. So I reach out to D. D makes me a battery, and I'm good. Or I buy a Jackery, or I buy something on Amazon, which will be probably 90% of us, right? We're not out there to build our batteries and have all these things. I want to just know what is the best battery to buy. And I think, the message I got from D was basically you have 3 different levels of batteries in this size of battery. And you're going to pay for the different value, but they're going to be stronger in one. You'll be able to have 100% use of this battery, but only 50% of this battery. That's what I took from that. And a plug to D for coming out here and volunteering. Thank you, D.
Thank you.
Is that he builds batteries and he's local, and he would be happy to talk to you guys about if you want to build. He's building me the middle one. Is it the one with the US? This one here.
This one here.
This one. So he's building that, and he's late. But he's building that for me, so I'm excited. I'm going to have that in my shack. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions for D?
Yeah, is this type of battery what we could use with our solar panels? Would it charge this?
If your solar panels aren't hooked up to the network, to the grid.
But it's totally separate.
Yeah.
My solar panels, I can
Like this.
power
Yes.
this.
Oh, yes, yes,
Okay.
you can. That's what I'm working on right now to make sure they can. They have to, as long as they're putting out like 18 volts to make these things come up and start working, they will.
Okay.
And by the way, it was mentioned that grid ties you can't use. When the power goes down, you can't. And after that period of time, then you get to do what you want. But you can put a charged solar controller charger in there also that's combined both inverter for AC output and for charging batteries. A whole house battery system would be kind of nice to have. If you've got an electric car and you've got your own solar panels, during the day you can charge that car up. Or charge a set of batteries, and at night they can charge the car.
Thank you. I want to add one thing. I went through Hurricane Dolly in the valley when I lived down there. We stayed there. I had a generator welder, 200 watt, kilowatt, yeah, 2 kilowatts. And so I pulled it, so we lost power for 3 days here, flooded, whole deal. We lived through the hurricane. Common thing we should think about, because it's portable for the most part. We want to be able to bug out if we need to. We got to carry that, right? Thank you. Yeah. Right? Travis? Yeah, come on up here.
So, little microphone.
Thank you.
So one of the easiest things to do, like if you're bare bones, just basic starting out. So I'm from up north. We get a lot of power outages. Pretty much every summer, every winter, something takes out the power. And we have a lot of people associated with the base up there, Air Force. And we have a lot of people that aren't used to that. They come from an area where it's not a thing. The simplest way to power like your fridge or anything, buy 1,000 to 1,500 watt inverter off of Amazon. You're looking at like $60 to $150 depending on the quality of the one that you get. Plug it into your car, clip it onto the batteries, start your car, run an extension cord, you can run your refrigerator stuff. It's not going to power your AC, but it's going to keep your food and stuff cold. It's going to power your TV, it's going to power your cable modem so that you can turn Netflix on for the kids so they're not going crazy while everything else is down. And if you have a full tank of gas and you're just sitting there idling for a little bit every day, you'll last a really, really long time. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm hard of hearing, so I'm only getting a bit.
Okay.
My hearing
Is
aids.
this that information he just said, will that be on the website?
Yeah, we're gonna upload the video to YouTube, and the emails that we send out will have the link to the video.
Okay, good, because I didn't hear what it was you said you bought for.
It's a 1,000 to 1,500 watt inverter off of Amazon. Like I said, they run from like $50 to $150 depending on exactly what you buy.
Earl, you got one there?
Yep, one of those.
It's not that big, but it's a 300 watt.
Yeah.
What's the name? Throw some names out there.
Whistler makes a whole bunch of them. That's a quality one. Energizer. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them out there.
I mean, Mr. Ignorant,
Okay.
okay, I'm also, what would an average Joe
So
Q public
how about I
should buy?
how about I do this? I put together a recommendation. I'll send it to Jerry. Jerry can send it out to everybody on the email list. So I'll put together a recommendation with a whole bunch of links, and then I'll send that out to you.
But if okay, ignorance again, I
Uh-huh.
apologize.
No worries.
Okay, I connect it to my car, okay, what do I plug, do I plug it into my meter loop, do I plug it, what do I?
No, it would be an extension cord running to the to your refrigerator, to your TV, whatever you want. Yep, just extension cord. So yeah, exactly what he's got here. Plug the extension cord in, plug it into whatever device you want to use. So you run your car. You start your car. Your car's the car's sitting out in your. Yep.
Well, then, you start your car.
If you have it outside, you won't.
Your car will idle and
Yep.
burn 1 gallon of gas per hour.
Yep. So.
Inside the garage.
Well, my car stays in the garage, so.
Well, you need to pull it out of the garage.
And more open, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want to run a car in the garage.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I knew that.
Just open the garage door.
Yeah, just open the garage door and it'll be fine.
Alternative, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like giving you guys some ideas as far as an emergency, right? We've got to start, you said it right from the beginning, we are at the beginning stages of, let's do basic first and work through it. Then we'll bring Deep back and you'll start telling me how to build the battery, right? But right now, it's kind of like, what do we need? Yeah, we got 15 minutes. So we're gonna wrap it up, but not wrap it up, we're gonna leave for questions and networking, because we gotta be out of here by 1:30, correct? Okay, and we have to be out or else we get in trouble, so. Let's, you guys wanna touch and feel, show and tell, get up and network. We thank you for coming again, and bring us your feedback. If it's negative feedback, we wanna hear it too, because we wanna make it better, right? The survey's here, please fill it out. Yes, sir.
Can I question? This young lady was talking about the wind power earlier. My wife is into, it's analytic, right? Okay, and you were talking about the helix. Okay. Now, you could put probably several of those around and say, on, almost like wind chimes or something around your house. With high power. How do I store that power?
You would store that through any of the battery systems.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, either the lead acid, the lithium iron phosphate, and all the different kinds. So you find one that fits your budget and your requirements, and go from there. You know, I find mine for my solar setup on on Facebook Marketplace. They're old backup cell phone tower batteries. They have a lifespan of around 10 to 12 years. They are lead acid, so they're not as great as any of the lithium ones, but they're a little cheaper. And they have to replace them, I think it's every 2 to 3 years. So I have about, on the conservative side, about 7 or 8 years of life out of them.
Is that guy still selling those?
Yeah, intermittently. Yeah.
I missed it. What did y'all just say? Sorry.
So we sell, well, on Facebook Marketplace, there's a gentleman that sells used cell phone tower backup batteries. Yeah. So, I mean, the two that I have in my shed, and I have I can run a window unit off of it with the sunlight, obviously still charging, for about 5 to 6 hours straight. So they're large. They're 130 pounds. They're 130 pounds. They're about 6 inches wide and about 1.5 feet long, and they are heavy. And they have open terminals, so you have to be very careful not to arc them. Yeah.
And Jeff, you talked about the used panels that were on, that you found. What was the website for that?
So that's on eBay.
Oh, eBay.
Leasing right now, selling 356 watt solar panels.
Yeah, there's a couple places local that are it's used commercial panels.
Right, these are used solar panels. Get one of those, plus charge the solar supply on Amazon, will only support up to about 300, 400 watt anyway.
Right.
So you can get one of those and that's
And that'll get you through most situations.